OMU Commissioners Meeting, 18th of August, 2016.
Humbly ask for your guidance, your wisdom as we do the business of this utility. We thank you for the food we've received, and those who have prepared it. We ask you to watch over and keep safe our employees as they go about their duties. Help them get home every night safe, unhurt, unharmed to their family and loved ones. Father, we ask especially that you look over and comfort those in Louisiana that have been flooded, and those in California that have been burned out. We ask you to show them your way, bless them, and take their burdens from them. We ask this all in your Son's name, Jesus. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any changes to the agenda? Any pressure? All right, should be a quick meeting today. We don't have a whole lot to go over. First item is an update, or I'm sorry, the updated city transfer policy. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Lynn. She's going to run you through it.
Okay. We have three main tests we do based on the bond covenants and the restrictions that we have on our cash. To be able to make a city transfer, we have to cover the full funds, cover our depreciation and our debt payments and all that. The Appendix A is the surplus funds test. This test assures the prerequisite provision of adequate funds for debt, operation and maintenance, improvements, depreciation, reserve contingencies, decommissioning reserves for Elmer Smith generating plant, and the required operating reserve prior to making transfer to the city, as described in the bond order. We are in compliance with fiscal 16, and at the end of fiscal 17, it's going to be about a break-even amount of surplus funds. It's about $8.9 million if we use the $4 million of reserves to offset the ECA rate. So if we don't use the $4 million, we'll have $12.9 million. The total city transfer was $9.2 million, so it's going to be really close. We might have to have depending on how the performance retail and wholesale funds plays out throughout the year. At the end of next May, we might have to make a small transfer from the RNC fund to the general fund to cover the city transfer. Appendix B, the city ownership, the value of the cash flow cannot exceed 10% of the city ownership. We're in compliance. Appendix C is the cap on the pilot of the free services to the city. The cap for fiscal 17 was $3.3 million, which is the lower of the 1984 $700,000 amount compounded 5% each year, which is $3.3 million, or 6% of retail cash sales, which is like $4.3 million. So which is the lowest what our cap is, and the budget is $2.4 million below the cap. We're in compliance. And then Appendix D just indicates the next 5 years what the city transfer total is. So we're in compliance in this.
In the tables you have, you projected where we'll stand with the pilot and then the transfer up to 2021. What is that modeling based on for Elmer Smith?
That's our current electric projection, which has the $25 million in there, or CCR, or gas conversion, whichever, if we do one of those, until we have a final IRP plan.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, that's a
So it's
pretty subjective.
That's dicey the numbers, I guess. Well, but it's going to be.
It's a lot.
I mean, yeah, there's some uncertainty about whether that money will be spent or not. I mean, the options, as you know, that we're looking at are a $25 million investment to convert it to natural gas, City Unit 2, a $37 million investment to continue to be able to burn coal, or some other alternative. And right now, we're using the 25 million, that's for the CCR, the coal combustion residual, until we can complete the analysis, which we've been meeting on this week, and making good progress on that. And we'll certainly have something, as I've said to you before, my plan is to get something in front of you to take action on in November of this year.
That's fine. I mean, the next 2 years are what's really critical. I'm just curious.
You had to make some assumption, just go with it.
We'll have the 5-year update in that work session. For the financial plan.
That's why we want to do it in November, because it does have a huge impact on our 5-year financial forecast. All right.
Motion to transfer. I mean, that's policy. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, next item is our consent agenda items.
Make a motion to approve the second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
All right. And now we're going to go on to our performance report presentations. We have a year-ending capital update. And who is going first? Delivery. Austin.
For fiscal year 2016, delivery had a really good year. On the electric side, we had a capital budget of just over $5.6 million, had actual charges just over 5.3. Year-to-date reimbursements of $440,000. The projected reimbursements were $160,000. A good portion of the difference in those reimbursements was the large project out at Owensboro Riverport Authority with their feed mill facility that accounted for about $150,000 of that. Happy to report that as of May of this year, all of our known SPN 06 poles have been changed out.
Did you hear that email from my house?
Well, you'd be thrilled about that. So, you know, it can be expected we may find onesies and twosies, but the ones that we are aware of have been changed out, and that was roughly 2,700 poles. So in FY16, we changed out 234 bad poles, had a budget of $650,000. Spent a little bit more than that, we spent $695,000, but we made up for that variance in a few other projects. Transmission poles, we changed out 10 transmission poles, predominantly over the main thoroughfares within Owensboro, Frederica Street, Highway 54, at a cost of $225,000. Budget was $250,000. Our 4 kV conversion last year, we focused on the west end of town. Essentially, we were able to retire 2 4 kV transformers, one at Sub I, which is in the industrial park, the other Sub G, which is down on Hawker Avenue. All that area in yellow was once 4 kV, is now being converted to 15 kV. So from there, we're going to continue to work over into the Cravens Avenue area, continue to work west or east, and we'll eventually make it over to the Sub J substation there on Elm. Expenditures of $333,000, budget of $400,000 on that. We had a couple of reconductor projects, mainly along J.R. Miller from 27th to Legion and then McFarland's Avenue. And then we also, as part of the 4 kV conversion, to give us a few more backfeed opportunities into the industrial park with the addition of ORA, we brought forth the project on Cravens Avenue and also one on West 2nd, and pushed back one that we had on Walnut and one on Dieterle. Overall, we had a budget of $530,000. Expenditures came in just under $400,000. A few other projects. We continue to put facilities in at Harlan's Crossing for some new development in there. We also, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but we replaced the tower lights on our river crossings for the 138 line in Indiana. They're now LED lights. Have a 5-year warranty on them. So we're expecting a lot less O&M costs with those. Replaced a few substation breakers and switches, and then we're still in the process of getting our new outage management system up and running that we procured from ACS. Had a budget of $610,000. Expenditures came in just under $530,000. As I mentioned on our reimbursable projects, the Riverport was our largest reimbursable project of the last year. We also worked with the new distillery out at Old Medley, OZ Tyler, and got them to convert all of their old 4 kV facilities to 15 kV, so now they're 15 kV as well, and had to do some pole change outs for AT&T. So there's where our large contributions on reimbursements came from. The delivery building remodel is complete. The control center was up and functioning July 27, 2015. This project was broken over FY15 and FY16 budgets. Total budget was $2.1 million. Came in just a hair over that at $2,111,000. Any questions on the electric side? From a water standpoint, I had a budget of just over $1.5 million. Expenditures just under $1.3 million, with reimbursements of about $156,000. Our largest project that we budget to is our service and meter replacements without new customers. The budget was $775,000. Expenditures was $796,000. A couple of key water projects that we had going on. Back Square Drive over here off Southtown. We got a loop feed in it. We found a problem there whenever RWRA was having all their sewer issues that caused the lane restrictions there on Southtown. We also extended a loop out West Fifth Street Road to provide better service flows to the hydrants in that area. And then our biggest complaint was some low water pressures from the fire department in the Rolling Heights area, and we increased a 12-inch line from 54 along Litchfield Road into the housing authority. So now there's adequate fire protection pressures in that area. And that's all I have from delivery.
Mention again how you reconcile the capital's not spent at the end of the year.
It goes into, remains in the capital account for water and for electric.
Yeah, so you see how the other one's got in. But at the end of the year, if those projects complete, you roll that over, or does it go back and?
The project's complete, it goes back into unclaimed, effectively unclaimed capital dollars that we then use to extend out the period of time between bond sales.
So it stays in capital?
Yes. It has to be used for capital projects.
So it's basically just a big bucket that you draw out of, and so what's gone, and then you have to.
You have the bond proceeds in a separate checking account.
So it's sold.
Yeah. By bond covenant, you can't use those funds for anything except for capital.
So when you plan next year's capital projects, you take into consideration what's left in that project?
Absolutely. That's one of the things that we've been focused on, is trying to extend the use of that money as long as we can, so we're not back in the market trying to having to borrow more money, especially on the T&D side of the business, on the electric side. You know, our goal is to end up with revenue that supports our replacement program for capital investment, so we're not in this endless loop of having to go out and borrow money and increase rates in order to support the incremental borrowing. What investor-owned utilities typically do is in their rate base, they want to keep the rate base the same. So as equipment depreciates, they invest at the same rate as that depreciation. And that way they keep the rate base the same. And the Public Service Commission allows them to collect from customers rates sufficient to support that rate base. So they're constantly reinvesting into the system without having to go out and borrow new money or issue new stock or whatever in order to create a fund. They're self-funding from rates. And that's what our goal is to self-fund from rates on the electric system and the water system.
But as far as the capital, it can be spent anywhere in the electric system with the water sector.
Right.
But it's not, if you budget for Elmer Smith, the money that remaining doesn't stay in Elmer Smith projects.
The projects that you borrow for,
Well, when it's complete, you have leftover.
then you
That
can use it
surplus
for the electric
doesn't
system.
get limited to anywhere
Yes.
within the electric system.
We put in our bond documents other miscellaneous projects.
telecom capital. For commercial fiber replacements, installations, extensions, and relocations, we budgeted $44,500, and we actually had an actual of $84,815. It was quite a bit more commercial activity than was originally anticipated, as reflected in the net income from last year as well, though, overshooting the budget. End-of-life equipment replacements on the network side, we actually reallocated those funds into the Network Operations Center because, if you recall, we moved out of the old data center into the new data center this year. There were some unexpected costs there, so what I did is just shifted some of those funds and ultimately ended up with a budget of $55,500 and an actual of $51,161. The big one here is Fiber Home pilot. Originally budgeted at $337,900. Obviously, that was a baseline going in there as a pilot, not fully understanding everything that we were getting into. You can see the actual is $502,946. The majority of those, the difference in that, is related to a fiber management system that we had to implement, a design program, Fiber Planet, that we had to implement, as well as a lot of make-ready costs that were above and beyond what was originally anticipated. So that's the difference in that. Then you have the customer installations budgeted at $28,000 and the actual at $23,000. So there is a summary. Original budget was $466,700 and our actual was $694,391.
Any other questions? Any questions on that?
All right. Seems like money well spent on the telecom side.
Yeah, I think it's all justified. Returns are good. Net income from telecom is up. Commercial telecom is booming. And fiber to the home is exceeding expectations in terms of our take rates for this time of the year. So, all good.
I'm going to give you an update on admin and our marketing and financials. So we had 16 capital projects. We ended the year about half what we expected the budget, and I'll detail that a little bit more. But 10 capital projects we completed. We finished those about $19,000 under budget, 264 compared to 245. We had 4 capital projects that were deferred. One of those is actually finishing up right now. 2 of those are active, and the other one we're waiting on the PGA market to give us some direction, so they should be finished in 2017. And then we had 2 canceled. All the projects that were completed were related to reliability and efficiencies. I typically will look at reliability, efficiencies, regulatory, and safety. So all of these related to reliability, efficiencies, anything from roofing to firewalls to updates in the NOC to shelving to help in warehousing to budget software. Pretty exciting stuff. Any questions?
There you go.
All right. Russ?
I'll give the production capital update. Okay, in power production, we had 19 capital projects budgeted. We had 8 planned, 19 capital projects budgeted, 8 planned with total budget of $3.9 billion, 8 deferred for 2017, and 3 canceled for about $800,000. In fiscal 15, projects carried over. We had 3 projects that carried over about just over $180,000, and then the match project carried over, which ended up being a 2-year project anyway, with $2.8 million. We had 12 projects that we completed in fiscal 16. 80 with the planned projects. The actual cost was just under $5.6 million. The majority of that being the match project, and 1 unplanned project for $330,000. That was a CCR project. We didn't have a choice; it was regulatory required, so that was another one we didn't see coming. And we had 3 carryover projects from fiscal 15 that we finished completing just over $400,000. Our variance for the adjusted budget was we were under for just over $500,000, or 7% of the under budget. The ones that were the impact were the mass compliance project, which between 15 and 16 ended up at $7.6 million. The unplanned CCR, which was regulatory required, $331,000, and then we had the Coal Central project that was finished for $150,000. Capitalized maintenance. We had 12 capitalized maintenance projects, 5 planned with a budget total just over $2.1 million. We had 6 deferred to fiscal 17, and one for 811,000, one canceled for 95,000. We had 2 projects that were carried over for 15 for just over 42,000. Then we had 7 projects we completed in fiscal 16. 5 of those were the planned projects, came in just under $4 million, and 2 carryover projects were just over 121,000. We did have a variance of overage of just over 1.1 million. That was because we basically got lost and then we early budgeted to work on the lower part of the furnace unit 2. But when we got into it, you know, the whole thing, you can't just cut it all off, it'll fall on the ground. So we had to take it in pieces and shift around, made it really inefficient. So basically additional time in the outage plus the temporary structural steel we had installed to hold it up and extra scaffolding is what accounted for that. So. On the water side, we had 6 capital projects budgeted, 6 planned with a budget totaling just over 1.3 million. Parts of the first project were 26,400 parish tank. We had a carryover from fiscal 15 to 2 projects, just under 400,000. We had 9 projects completed in fiscal 16, 4 planned projects, an actual cost of just over 500,000, and 5 carryover projects with actual cost of just under 400,000. And then we had 2 projects that were partially completed this year for just over 500,000. The variance versus actual budget was we were under budget by 738,000, so 40% of the budget. All that's due to the Plan A alternative analysis came in under budget, as well as we came under budget on the Hillcrest tank project. And there's of course the tank for the big thing this year, the parish, and then the Hillcrest on the last picture of the product tank. I think everybody's seen them. I think they're looking pretty good, so we're happy with those. Any questions on production capital?
Thanks, Russ. All right, next item is General Manager report. Tell you a little bit about the weather. You know, July was hot, relatively speaking, but it was actually statistically only about 1 degree. It was within a degree of normal. Our retail electric sales were up during the month, about 5.9%. Electric retail rates, or retail revenue and sales are up 6.1% for the year. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. You know, good to have. We cover our costs fully when we sell to retail. Interestingly, in July, water sales were up. Despite all the rainfall that we had very high water sales, and our analysis shows that most of it is from large industrial facilities that are using significantly more water, which means that their products or their production is up as well, and that's a good thing for us. Natural gas prices, we've been seeing natural gas prices going up for the last 4 months, but they've started to decline in the last couple of weeks. Interestingly, for those of us that are in the business, for the first time ever, we saw a withdrawal from storage in the summer. And that's very unusual. It means in the summer, usually you're jamming as much gas as you can into storage for the winter. But in that week of July 29th, it was very hot across the whole eastern half of the U.S. and the West. And we actually drew gas out of storage that week for the first time in history.
We didn't have so much gas going to power plant in the past.
That's what it is. That's exactly what's driving it, is the conversion from coal to natural gas is causing these high demands during the summer. However, you know, storage levels are still about 15% above normal storage levels at this time of the year. So we started off the year very full, and even though we've had this small withdrawal, we're still 15% above where we would be in a 5-year average period. So we are seeing pressure, downward pressure on natural gas curves. We saw some higher power prices Power prices have not, during that 4-month period, have not increased at the same rate that gas prices have, and they've remained relatively flat. I wanted to give kudos to Kevin and Russ and other folks from production. Had an excellent June availability-wise, 0.8% on Unit 1 and 1.5% on Unit 2. That's exceptional performance. July's performance was significantly better than budget as well, at 5.9, 9.3%. And this is all despite the fact that we're operating at night at very, very low load levels that we've not operated under very long-term operations in the past. We would expect that low-level operation would induce some stresses on the machines that would cause higher outage rates, but we have not seen it. So they're doing a great job at the plant trying to respond to these market conditions. Now, number 4, I wanted to update you on KYMEA. Tuesday night, Frankfurt approved their participation in the all requirements. At this point, there are 3 remaining companies who to ratify. One of them we know is not going to ratify. That's Benham. They're the smallest of the 10 at 3 megawatts of peak load. They've decided not to participate in the all requirements contract. They were able to get, they're actually out from under the KU contract now, and they've been getting market supplied energy, and their projections are that they'll be able to continue under that scenario because they're small load for cheaper than they can get it from KYMEA. Interestingly, that Benham also has the lowest load factor. It's the weakest. So load factor is a measure of the percent of time that you actually use the peak. Theirs is in the upper 20s, low 30% range. Ours, for example, would be in the 48% range. So there's no industry, it's all residential. There's lots of strip heating in the mountains, in the winter, and so it was working out better for them. They weren't driving KYMEA's success anyway, only 3 megawatts, but so things are looking very, very good. The last 2 cities now are Providence and Falmouth, I think it's Falmouth, yeah. Those are the last 2 that need to be approved. We do have a board meeting next Thursday in Bowling Green. Rob will be attending that because I'm going to be on vacation next week. So, with that, that's the extent of my report for this week. Now for the good news. 2 months in a row with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the consolidated electric system for July 2016, fiscal year to date, we're at 26.1% over budget. The retail system, the megawatt hour sales were 5.9% for the month of July above budget. Fiscal year to date, actual performance without the ECA adjustment, we're at 24.8% above budget. The wholesale system, the megawatt hour sales were 17.8% below budget for the month of July. And fiscal year to date, that is up 22.9% better than budget. The telecommunications were $58,000 better than budget, and the water system were $194,000 budget better than budget. And then the chart at the bottom there shows you after 2 months of actuals and the rest of the year in budget, we're expected consolidated net income to come in at 8.6% above better than budget. The retail performance 6.3% better than budget. Wholesale 3.4% better than budget, and then the telecommunications $58,000 better than budget, and the water system $195,000 better than budget. And then we've got an update on the ECA chart. After 2 months of ECA costs, we are at still 0.7 cents for the expected rate increase in December. That's with using the $4 million of reserves to offset. the ECA costs were 4.2 million for July, and we billed to the customers 3.9 million, so it was a little shortfall there that set us back a little bit, but it didn't move the
I mean,
needle.
the upshot is it's not going as fast as we
Right.
thought it would.
Right.
This year.
And then the wholesale shortfall plays in, and then the number of kilowatt hours billed plays in, so there are several variables.
Right.
And that's in our schedule. November is the time frame that we'll be bringing a recommendation to you on the ECA increase that would be effective in January. So hopefully markets continue to move up, continue to perform better than the budget, and we can keep knocking that 0.7% down to a number that's very small. Again, the alternative is to change the ECA policy, and that's not something that I recommend at this point in time.
Pretty sure in the wholesale that we celebrate not losing as much.
That was some fancy budgeting, though. The budget's and actuals, that's really good.
Next month, when you see these numbers on the ECA impact, they'll be presented a little differently. We're working on a analytical methodology that will give us a more of a probabilistic perspective. This is a kind of an analysis that's a snapshot in time. We recognize that we're not going to be able to, and we have to make this decision, we're still going to have 5 months of the year of revenues that we're anticipating. And so the approach that we're going to be will be using going forward will be one that looks at the probability of what the increase will need to be in order to keep the ECA at below $10 million. So we come to you with a recommendation, you'll see it next month. When we come to you with a recommendation, we'll say it's 0.7 cents, 0.7 cents, and that has a 68% probability of being correct, rather than just saying it's 0.07 cents. Because we need to recognize that there's still a significant amount of variability, unknown, uncertainty on wholesale prices for that remaining 5 months of the year.
So when you do your 5-year projections, can you also say what ECA is going to look like, potentially could look like in the future, how that will work then?
Oh, yeah.
Back when we were talking about compensation, only compensation of OMU employees, at what point do we discuss that again about that being forced things? Are we going to wait till the end of the year?
Well, the way that you approve the budget is that if we achieve a certain net income, then the incentive compensation would be funded. If we do not achieve that, there's no funding.
I was just making sure
Yeah.
I can't remember
Yeah.
which way it was.
And some target dates in there.
After 6 months.
Yeah.
But it won't require any really action.
Won't require action unless you want to change what you've already authorized.
I just wanted to understand that.
Yeah.
I had it in my head incorrectly.
Okay. Governance items. There were 5 governance items. I looked at one of them. I think JT looked at 4 of these, and I didn't find any discrepancies. JT didn't find any, so we're doing a good job of staying on track with our governance policy. Other business. No general information. Other business, I wanted to just let you know that one of the things that we've been looking at very closely is whether or not there's an opportunity in this low interest rate environment to refinance some of our debt on the electric system. We've been working with our financial advisors, and we anticipate coming to you at the September work session with an initial recommendation on some refunding. That would probably say we're estimating around $3 million in financing costs. So we've spoken to the city, and the goal would be for us to present it to you at the work session. You would take action on it next month in September, and we'd be before the city commission with a new ordinance late September and then be approved by the city in October on this first week in October on second reading, and then we get right into the market. The Fed announced yesterday that because the economy is looking better, employment rates have been higher, their outlook is that interest rates will probably be increasing sooner rather than later. Now, who knows when that will be, before the election or after the election, but certainly we want to try to get in front of that and take advantage of any arbitrage opportunities there are today with the debt. We don't anticipate adjusting rates as a result of that $3 million of savings, because it's $3 million of savings between now and 2026. We just think that's the right answer to do. It just lowers the cost of debt for customers. The other thing we have that will be coming to you in the September work session is a healthcare premium recommendations. We've done a comprehensive review of our healthcare costs and our projection, and we'll be recommending some changes to our employee healthcare programs. We'll be bringing that to you for information at the work session, and then we'll be asking you to take action on that in September
regular meeting.
because employees have to make elections before the end of the year, so they'll be in effect beginning January. So that is a relatively important work session for you guys to come to on September 1st. Our regular meeting is on September 15th next month. I believe, Mr. Chairman, you're going to be on vacation, right?
Not on the 15th, but I'm going to be at a Pinker's board meeting on September 1st.
Okay.
Because I didn't think about that.
Well, we can give you an update individually on all those issues.
There's no action at that meeting.
No action at the work session. With that, unless you have any other items you'd like to discuss, we'll take a motion to go into the closed session.
We've got the water plant issue.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Oh,
that me?
yeah. Forgot about that. To wing it.
Story of my life. Story of my life, wing it. Just to follow up, we've had discussions on the last couple of meetings on water quality issues and with concerns raised with this is a sensitive issue, so for one of our larger customers. So we sent them a little update letter, kind of giving them a heads up what we're going to do, and then we've been meeting with them off and on for quite some time. Had another meeting with them last week. Production management met with them. Ted was there as well, and the goal was we wanted to explain to them what we were doing. They brought in their process engineer from the corporate office. We gave him a tour of the cabin plant, went over our plans with him. He seemed to be, pretty good shape with them. Then we sat down with them and we went over the changes we're making. Talked about the chlorine to gaseous chlorine to hypochlorite conversion. They asked why we were doing it. We explained our rationale basically for risk management. And our goal was to talk to them about the changes we were making and really to reassure them that the basic water treatment process that we use, we're still using aeration and lime softening, chlorination, although we're using bleach instead of gaseous chlorine, and as well as gravity filtration, and then we'll be adding in carbonation most likely for pH control, and to assure them that really the quality they see now, they won't see a change in that as we go forward. And as we went through those items, the issue they really have is they are concerned with pH. For their process, they would like to have a lower pH than what we provide. And we had a pretty robust discussion about that, and it's not the first discussion we've had with them about really where our pH is, why it is where it is, why we plan on keeping it in the same range of where it is, and our reasons for that. And we really don't want to lower the pH, which would be good for them because as we've seen, as we've gone through and looked at this, our treatment system has been running in this pH range for many, many years. The distribution system is fairly stable. The chemistry is stable. It hasn't changed much. And when you start changing chemistries, you can disturb the distribution system and cause contaminants to potentially leach out. You know, that's the kind of the Flint, Michigan thing. We talked a little bit about that. So we went through our rationale of why we want to keep things where they are. We think we're in where we need to be. We're in compliance with all of the EPA standards. And but that's a big issue for them. They reiterated that it's a serious concern for them. We talked about perhaps that we could work with them to develop a point of use pH adjustment system that would just adjust the pH basically at their facility's fence line. So it's not going to be affecting our distribution system, but we get the pH where they need to be. So we offered that we would do a conceptual look at how that system would work, what it would look like, based on we know what their flow numbers are, we know our water quality and our pH, and give them the target pH they'd like to get to. So we've got HDR looking at that, give us a couple conceptual ideas of how we could do that. Again, satisfy their need, but not disrupt our system. So we'll be working with them as we go forward on supplying that. We had a good discussion. HDR brought in their National Director of Water Treatment, and we went through a lot of the details on that. And so I think we understand their issue. Their issue really is with pH. They're not as concerned about other constituents. And there are various reasons why we think the pH needs to be where it is now. They may like it lower, so we're going to work with them and see if we can come up with some innovative solutions to try to get them where they need to be without disrupting the distribution system.
It's very early in this conversation, but if we were to put in a point of use adjustment, we would likely have to go back and modify the water rate where we don't have a different rate for industrial customers. We have one rate. We can't discriminate between customers, so we probably have to create a new rate class for this particular customer. That would require your approval as well as the commission approval. So there's the technical aspects which we're confident we can resolve, but there's also the rate and regulatory aspects we have to deal with as well.
So they've been producing their product with the pH that we've been providing them for the last X number of years, whatever, without any harm to their product so far. But
They have to make adjustments to the process, and they would prefer not to do that.
So they've been doing sort of adjusting the pH on their own, which is at some cost to them, I guess, to do that right now.
So that's where that adjustment.
Yeah, and I'm not sure exactly what they do, how they've been addressing that. They have been adjusting it, or they have to use additional chemicals to make up for what the higher pH does to their process. So, yeah.
So it'll probably save them some money if we did it for them.
Well, I think that, Kevin, I don't remember the exact conversation, but there's a conversation was something on the order it was here, and now it's gone up to that. So I think I remember that part of the conversation.
I remember that,
they're getting exactly what
but I
they
also
are.
know what our data says, and it doesn't support their contention.
We've gone back and looked at.
Well, you can't trust what they're going to tell you. I mean, I'm just saying that that's what they say.
That's their perception.
It is. There's no question that it is higher than where they would like it to be, but whether it's gone up or not. So
we're just, we're in the customer service business, so
Exactly, yeah.
we have to deal with what our customers are asking us to do. That's what we're doing.
That is a 2-year-old customer. It's not a 30-year-old customer.
Okay.
Because who owns them now is by virtue of the level requirements, a new customer, as far as what their expectations. So you kind of got to look at it that way. They may have been
That's an interesting
doing
point.
it 30 years, but when they get sold, whoever buys them is actually a new customer as far as what they think their requirements are.
And you've got their attention when you say you're going to change.
yeah, well,
That's kind of true.
we've been talking with them off and on just about ever since they had new ownership. When it became a more important issue on their radar, because the water, our water quality, we've talked about a lot, It varies with the influent groundwater quality. You know, the pH moves up and down within that range. We like to keep it. And over time, they contend that it's gone up. You know, I've got 16-year trend where it shows it's flat, maybe even gone down a little bit. But their new owner has different, more stringent, I assume, quality requirements that they have to meet.
People at the plant that are doing the job of making that product are completely different than who was there 2 years ago. So they I guess the pH is a hot button for them, where it might not have been for the other guys.
Yeah.
In fact, they kind of made that statement.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they said since the new owner's taken over, the leadership has changed there. It's definitely it's kind of like we haven't changed as much as they have, I think, in their perspective, not necessarily physically. They haven't changed what they're doing, I don't think.
So you guys are now up to speed on what we know.
Well, it sounds like a good meeting, the kind of meeting that we need to have for people that are
Yeah.
for good service.
And I think, we can probably solve this problem for them, but, from OMU's perspective, we need to make sure that we're sending a uniform message that we're not going to allow other customers to subsidize the cost of incremental operating costs or capital investments that we have to make.
Well, I was there, and I would like to say that Kevin and all the OMU people and HDR people did a great job. They accommodated them, but it's from an OMU perspective, they stood the ground that OMU needed to stand the ground. I mean, it's like he said, you just can't let, they're trying, so but.
I mean, in the perfect world, they would get the quality of water they wanted, right spot on, at the low cost we've been providing for years. But, there's no free lunch. You just have to remember that.
And we're going to continue to work with them, and when we get the solution up, design it. It could be something that we put in for them, or it could be something they say, okay, we'll put on our side of the meter and take it from there. So there's still a lot of options.
Yeah. I apologize for not seeing that on the agenda. I'm actually going off of a paper copy. See, shame on me for doing that if it wasn't updated.
Move to go into closed session.
Yeah, so if you have no other questions for items, Mr. Chairman, I'll take a motion to go into closed session to discuss personnel matters pursuant to KRS 61810-1F, pending litigation pursuant to 61810-1C, the matters which are required to be discussed in privacy pursuant to KRS 61810-1K, including but not limited to KRS 61878-1CI, and KRS 61872.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
End of OMU Commissioners Meeting for the 16th of August 2016, or the 18th of August. End of OMU Commissioners Meeting for the 18th of August 2016.